Hello and welcome to Entity Gaming's Forum Friday. So I went to go get my blood drawn today. Super fun stuff. Almost died. I don't understand their logic. Something's wrong with me, so they're like, hey, you're sick. Let me stick this painfully long hollow tube into your skin and pull out some of the stuff that makes you live. We can make you die a little more, and then we'll see if we can fix you. Great logic. So today we're discussing a pretty new topic to MMOs. We're discussing heroic movement. We're jumping back to a pretty old thread from the EQNexus forums in order to address a new thread. If you guys don't know what heroic movement is yet, it's described as a parkour movement style system in which players will move more charismatically throughout the world. Flips, double jumps, spins will augment your movement as you travel, and hopefully it will be a good experience for most people. I do know, however, that there has been some negative feedback on this topic. So the post most recently created was titled Heroic Movements Got a Purpose by Kamuto, and it asks the question, is it possible that heroic movements is related to the action combat system? The thread contains about 10 replies and rolls over the topics of combat being involved in heroic movement. Shanador posted a thread titled Heroic Movement, How It Could Be Implemented in Different Ways on September 1st. The ideas contained in the first post were really exciting to think about. He talks about 5 different suggestions of implementation for the heroic movement system. The first is advancing tiers of movement. And by this he means, how is it possible that a brand new character in the world can do all of these crazy flips and tricks and everything? In real world, gymnasts take years and years of practice for their performances. He suggested ranking up, making it a skill-based system. Skill-based in the fact that you're ranking up a skill. Maybe interworking it into class tiers would be a more doable way for developers to implement this. The second thing he discusses for implementing heroic movement was class-specific or armor-type movements. He discusses light armor classes and their capability to do flips and tricks, but he doesn't really address heavy armor. So we'll come back to this in a bit. So optional movement. This is the idea that automated movement is sort of like you don't want to just do something without you doing it. You want to have control of your character. When your character does something that you didn't tell him or her to do, it often breaks immersion. It makes you feel like I'm not in control of my character. This isn't me in the world. It's just this character doing something. He says with automated movement, instead of controlling the character being it, they're just watching it happen like a movie. So movement combinations is number 4 for his list of implementations. And what he means by this is like Super Mario style double jumps, wall jumps, ducks and slides, run up a wall, flip backwards. Cool little things, combinations of heroic movement that create a flow. This thread was too long to sum up in a single video, but I'll do my best to sum it all up in this quick analysis. So the first reply is from Cyril, who with 11 words makes this statement and sparks a whole bunch of new ideas. He says stat determined movement. Strength for how long, agility for how complex. Definitely somewhere to start for ideas. The next string of replies in the thread begin the opposing side. Thrasher, Live It Up 1216, and Grumpy Koala make a good argument for why heroic movement is not a good idea and why it shouldn't be in the game. Developers could be spending their time on more important matters, and more than likely this isn't a necessary part of the game. For those of us who don't want heroic movement are going to have to deal with it anyway because it's going to be in the game. Also, people with bad connections or not as great internet may not be able to enjoy heroic movement. Then Shanador's enthusiasm got to me, and I made this outlandishly long post regarding the topic. I referred to Cyril. I thought also, what if it wasn't just strength and agility? What if instead there are multiple factors that come together to form a system? The voxel world has probably been discussed extensively by the developers with the inclusion of physics, gravity, momentum, collision, and other factors. I talk about weight on specific items, and then I make this ridiculously long formula for how to calculate. You can see it, and I sort of go crazy at this point in the thread. In the end, I sum up the geek talk and conclude with the idea that I don't think heroic movement should be automatic. That's really the big downfall of heroic movement, and what Dave Georgeson said, you don't have to do anything extra. Your character does it as you're moving. No extra buttons are pressed. I say that there should be some effort involved in jumping and moving through the world. Okay, so I had to brace myself for this next part. This is the first time that I got completely shot down and just stomped into the ground in a form. At least that's how I felt. Somebody suggests that I go and get Assassin's Creed if I want this kind of heroic movement. The addition of heroic movement to MMOs is a blemish in a lot of people's eyes, especially the people who want a straight up EverQuest MMO. But what Dave Georgeson did say is that this game is drawing on so many different genres and putting them all together into something that hopefully will be amazing. I honestly think that this new thread is actually a really great idea because the thread that I'm talking about now sort of derails because both me and this other guy sort of just have at it, and even the moderator stepped in a bit. Anyway, we'll discontinue this discussion here, and allow it to continue on the new Heroic Movement thread. That's all for this week's Forum Friday, everyone. Please leave your ideas and replies on Heroic Movement in the comments below. Also, go to the thread and make replies there. The whole reason that I'm doing Forum Friday is to really bring attention to the forums and the great ideas that are on them, so the developers will look at them and say, hey, look at all these great ideas, we need to be using them. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and check out our guild website at EQNity.com. It will be spelled correctly in the video description below, as always, and of course, happy adventures.